So welcome to Over It. Today I'm delighted to have my dear friend Melanie with me, who's visiting from Toronto and is here in my little mountain town. And we are here to talk about anything that comes up. In fact, we've been talking nonstop for like
We have.
3 days.
Yes.
And I keep saying, oh my gosh, we should be recording because it's been really amazing.
It
And
has.
I don't even know where to begin, but I guess we've been talking a lot about what we've gotten through and over personally, and what's still shifting for us.
Yeah.
And one of the things you said today that I wanted to ask you more about was that you've actually created like a list of for yourself of like boundaries.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if that's something you would feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah. And thanks for doing this.
Welcome to Over
I
It.
This is amazing.
Welcome to Over It.
Oh, and even when you had brought up that you're doing this, it was just like, yes, right? Like this is what you should be doing.
Oh,
Yeah, and even just sitting here right now, like seeing you in it. This
thank
is
you.
lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, truly. So yeah, I mean, boundaries is like a new thing,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's a new necessity, right? Like all that other stuff. But this is like I sat down a little while back and just had this kind of thing of what is helping and what is hurting, and discernment about those things that kind of help my day and those things that actually hold me back. And it started big around relationships, like people, and made some decisions there, like really tough decisions. But so it was like boundaries, like the big ones with people. But then it was like getting into the day to day, like what with clients, like even just professionally, like where's boundaries in that? What does that look like? With my son too. Um, and then my body, right? Like food, what I put in, what I don't. So this list that I have, I can just see it. It's on this like piece of paper just sitting there. Um, it's really about how much energy I put in. Right? So, like, say with clients, it's some parameters around the session itself, how much I communicate before and after session. Like, this is like minutia stuff,
Right.
right?
But also foundational for
Foundational.
safety for everybody, right?
Well, this is it. It's both, right?
Safety for the client,
Yeah.
safety for you
That's right.
as the therapist or healer.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And, just 'cause I think what I was doing, like, historically would have been just like in it, like giving it all, giving everything, giving all the stuff I have, like all the essence stuff was all over everything. Like it was wide open, especially this past year, like in different periods of time. And this was an effort like needed to like, what do I want to do here? What can I do? What is helping and what's harming?
Can we speak to that piece about like giving it all?
Yeah.
And sort of something we've been talking a lot about is just sort of, first of all, the association of to love is to give like endlessly.
Yeah.
Until you're a used, dried up, like
Yes.
corn husk. That's love. Right. And then also something big we've been talking about, which is the receptive energy, being in balance with giving and receiving. I think for all people, right? Super important, not modeled for us, but I think especially for women, the proclivity to give and give and give And you even said something interesting
Mm,
today where you said when you're really engaged in a passion project or something you're trying to get off the ground,
mhm.
it can feel
Yeah,
through all that giving that there's a way in which you're also receiving,
yeah,
which is true.
yeah,
But then how is it also not true? Or where does it start to like go off the rails
yeah.
in terms of that balance?
Yeah, I mean, that's such an amazing question because I think that's where I'm at is figuring that out, actually.
Hmm.
Like I'm at that place of figuring that. Like where is the balance? Where is it off balance? Um, yeah, it's
And how do you know? Like, what are the inklings?
well, this is it because I think what's happened yet again for me is the realization of the misplaced, the balance being off, the harmony being um, disrupted again.
So often for many of us,
Mhm.
the disharmony manifests in our bodies.
Yes,
And then we have this conditioned way of like overriding it.
yes,
Like, yes, my lower
push.
back is killing me,
Yeah,
but just, yeah, push, keep on going.
yeah,
Like, I've started getting migraines for the first time in my life. Like, keep on going. Like,
totally, totally. Find a solution to that,
yeah,
like to the like migraine piece of it, but not hearing the message underneath it
all right.
and missing that, like just missing that piece until you can't miss
Until
it.
you can't miss it, till it gets so big in your
Yeah,
body mind
yeah,
that there's a meltdown, a breakdown,
yeah.
an
Shut down.
organ rupture,
Yeah,
a bleed out,
absolutely.
yeah,
Right. And it's we are kind of saying this morning too, like the expected suffering of this process too.
the process of life, the
Yes.
expected suffering in the
Yeah.
process of life.
Right. And that so then to actually be in harmony, there's this like external message constantly that it should be heard.
Would it be okay if I said that something interesting that came up this morning was, you were talking about feeling some pain, right,
Hmm.
in your body, and you were saying, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so low energy.
Yeah.
I'm so low energy, and you've been sweetly apologizing
Mm.
for like 3 days.
I
And
know.
I said to you, I wonder if we could frame that as you're actually relaxing.
Yes. Gosh.
And of course, your body's speaking to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can hear it.
Absolutely. And I think when you had said that even this morning, um, like giving permission to that, that it doesn't like even in this is sometimes happens with joy a little bit too, right? Like it's in the actual permission to myself to relax fully, it comes to me as pain.
Mm,
Like it shows up in my psyche and in my like just pain, but it actually is my body releasing,
mm,
right? And actually it's just so not, my everyday to feel, relaxed,
yes.
especially this last little while. There's definitely been periods of time where it's better or worse. Um, but it feels like pain.
Mm. Right. I feel like my relationship to that, particularly in the past, was when I would start to relax, it would be fear that
Yeah.
would come up, like
Mm,
some fear, whether it was like a somatic sense in my body of anxiety or my mind racing, a fear that if I let my guard down, right, something bad was going to
yes.
happen. It's
Yeah.
that PTSD kind of like,
Yeah.
I have to be hyper vigilant.
That's right.
So if I let myself relax, it's all going to fall
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave myself vulnerable.
Well, that's it.
Right. And it's only by, manipulating all the variables I can all at once
Yeah.
or pushing myself to the max and beyond the overachievement. That all was designed as an illusion, but to keep me safe.
That's right. Absolutely. Right. And in the pattern of it, you can feel it somatically, like in your body, right? So when then, like it is that, and that's what's been happening. Like for me, these last few days, it's been like sleep and rest.
Yeah.
Like, and just like my body's like, lie down.
Yeah.
You know, when we first got together and we were at the Airbnb, it was like we were going to go to the beach, and I just looked at the bed, like, I need to lie down.
No.
It just like called me, and then it's like an hour later nap. I'm like, okay, I needed that.
Yeah. And I was really glad you could give it to yourself. And
Yeah.
again, I think as women, our tendency is to be like, I'm so sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I'm holding you back or us back
Yes.
from doing things.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah.
we ended up enjoying the hell out of that little cozy
It was
Airbnb.
lovely.
We spent probably more time in that little cozy Airbnb, tiny little attic space than really even on the beach or anything,
Absolutely.
because that's what we that's what felt right.
Totally though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just tell our over it sisters, like, paint the picture? So
Yeah.
we were on the ocean in Gloucester,
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts. And yeah, we had this tiny little walk up, like a 3 flat, maybe walk up, 3 flat,
Mm-hmm.
with this tiny narrow staircase. You know, building was probably built in the turn of the century. We're dragging our we overpacked luggage up for our one night away, and get to the top, tiny landing, get in, and it's like sloped, like walls and ceilings, and super quirky.
Yeah.
I think someone definitely lives there and like gets out when he has visitors, so very quirky. And you know, that night, instead of going out for like a fancy dinner, like, we canceled the reservation we
Yeah.
had,
Right.
and we ended up getting slices from a local
Yes.
pizza
Which was
place, which
amazing.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And we lit a couple candles,
Yeah.
and we sat on the floor on pillows. I think we talked until almost 2 a.m.
Yeah. It was, yeah. It felt like an accomplishment too, though.
Yes.
You know, we did
Say
it.
that, like, the
Yeah.
receiving
The receiving
feels like an
it
accomplishment.
really does, though, right? Like it really, like it was, and we were just, just sharing about our lives,
Right.
like the whole night, like just kind of chatting and just like, and then the synchronicities and like the different things and the learning and the back and forth of it and then the laughter of it too,
Yeah.
right? I think this is where, it's been really interesting, like how similar our paths have been,
Yeah.
right? Like our
Right.
past, like people different, situations different, but it's also we've been like along the way,
Yeah. A lot of resonance in
Yeah.
our experiences. And I guess I should say, I didn't even formally introduce you, which I usually do on the podcast. That even though we are Insta friends, and
Yeah.
if we have a deep sisterhood and a
Yeah.
bond that formed, I think, almost instantaneously, and we've been
Absolutely.
deepening
Yeah.
since, we actually haven't known each other for even a year.
Like
Is that
not even,
crazy?
yes, I know. Like this was, what was that, October, right?
Yeah, October of last year
Yeah.
is when we met. And we've been
2022.
deepening ever since, even
Yeah.
though you live in Canada and I
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
But we Zoom away
Yeah,
and
we do. And
find our
it's
ways.
right.
But
And
this,
like connect.
and this is our most concentrated time
Yeah,
together,
it is.
like 4 days, 5
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And it's been really magic.
Yeah.
How would you most, like, authentically for yourself,
Mhm.
identify yourself to our over it sisters?
Wow. Okay.
Like, I am,
Yeah.
like, with what stream of consciousness comes.
Yeah. So I'm a mother.
Yeah.
I think that's something too we've like connected on in a completely beautiful way. But a mother, um, I hold space. I'm creative. Love color, just not on me.
Yes,
These
you
days.
are wearing color today.
I know that's
You're usually
true.
all in black.
Yeah,
Which we'll
yeah.
get to.
Yes. Yes. Which is funny.
Yes.
And I'm a lover, right? And that's I say that like deeply,
Yeah.
right? Deeply. For all things, and myself is the learning right now.
Loving yourself
Yeah.
is the learning.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it really well with everyone,
Yeah.
right? So it's this way. It's the new. I'm an intellectual
Mhm.
Um, just loves to pull it all apart. And put it back together again, which is career stuff has led that probably more than that's the another new learning. Putting things back and not putting so much effort into that. Oh,
Can I ask you a question
yeah,
about something? I don't want to throw you off your game, but
yeah,
you talked about the learning being around loving yourself. And
yeah,
I'm just thinking about this conundrum of how we as women, we love so well, we
yeah,
love so hard,
yeah,
love, 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 love. But the contradiction
yeah,
of not being in the actual practice
yes,
of loving self,
that's right.
and how,
Mhm.
so what are we doing, how are we, where are we sourcing this love
Right.
from, when often it hasn't been modeled for us and we're not giving it to ourselves or necessarily receiving it fully.
Yeah,
So how are we generating so much love?
yeah. Well, I can say from my perspective, um, it's been survival.
Survival.
It's been survival. Like it's about safety and that's where the push of it had kind of come to the point where it's like you can't just give to everybody,
Mm.
right? Like it's because then realizing that that was a learned way of keeping people around.
Right. If I just give enough and love enough,
That's right.
maybe I'll get some back.
That's right.
Right.
Right. Because it's
At some point it's bound.
it's
back
got
to
to
me.
bounce. It's got to bounce.
And then when we get the little dregs
That's right.
and crumbs, we're like, oh, yep,
Yeah.
I knew I'd get something. It's
Right.
like a little hamster pushing the lever to try to get that little kibble.
That's right. And when the kibble drops, not even being able to see or like that it's actually love, right? Like it's actually like you had said something there the other day, like pity isn't love,
Pity isn't love. I did say that.
right? So it's like just kind of taking a look at like, although it's like giving, what am I actually giving, and why? And the why usually has been to keep the person around.
Right.
So, like the pity,
To keep the person around,
yeah,
to keep getting the little
crumbs, the little crumbs.
the little crumbs. So
Yes.
that person is actually a crumb dispenser.
Yes. Dropping them a little bit along the way and then pulling them all away at some point too.
Yeah.
Because that's the familiar.
Right. And the intermittent, like
Yeah.
maybe you'll get a kibble, maybe
Yeah.
you won't.
Right.
Oh,
And
wait, I did the same thing I did last time to get the kibble. How come I'm not getting
yeah,
it this time?
yeah, yeah. And that, pattern being familiar
Right.
and comforting
Right.
historically.
Right.
Right? Like it's like a comforting known, and then you go back to origin story is parents.
Right.
And it's that those, that little kind of me just looking and waiting for something to drop from like whatever parent either. And when it did, it felt glorious.
Right.
Like it felt glorious because the other points in time were just empty.
And we know that intermittent reinforcement is the
Yeah.
strongest kind of conditioning. So,
Yes.
so right, then that becomes something we carry into our adolescence.
Yes.
Right. We might learn how to perform like little monkeys.
That's
in the
right.
hopes we'll get similar, we'll be seen,
Yes.
and we'll get to bask in the glow of that
Yeah.
for however
Yeah.
fleeting
Yeah.
of a duration.
Right.
Over It is proudly sponsored by the Couples Center of the Pioneer Valley, offering specialized services to couples and individuals with relationship issues and concerns. Check them out on the web at pioneervalleycouplestherapy.com or call them at 413-570-0067.
Which then becomes, that push around what is success too. right? Like, what is success? What am I like? It becomes identity kind of development, right? Like, it's like, I am someone that when received even just a little bit, I shine. So then I push even harder to get more and more and more, keep myself busy, have many different people that I'm like connecting with, intimately and otherwise. Because it feels like it's like all the little crumbs feel okay
Mm,
from all the different areas. Like, it
yes.
feels like, okay, I can sustain this. This feels like I'm happy, or this feels content, but it's all just a whole bunch of little crumbs.
Fragmented crumbs
That's right.
that you're trying to like, I like the
A
imagery, like,
puzzle.
but we were trying to take all the crumbs and put it in like one little cupcake holder
Totally.
and then call it a cupcake.
That's right. Exactly.
Right into it, it's just
It just falls apart. But it's like, okay, no, no, that wasn't that. It's better. It's best version of maybe even the fragmented
Right, this is the
best
best version
version
so far.
so far,
To
which
date.
to date, best version so far, which my last year probably is that. But it's just, the reckoning really of it's just the best version of my unhealed self showing
Best
up.
version of
Yeah.
my unhealed self.
Yeah.
That's good.
So close though.
Yeah.
So close,
Yeah.
and no judgment on it. It's just in noticing, like, could have stayed content in that a really long time until my body's like, no, actually,
Nope.
no, that's not possible. Which is why, our bodies are just so amazing, right? Like,
Such messengers.
oh God, it's like everything, right? This ability to have this navigation system internally that just gets covered up over years and years and years, because of survival, and now being like reconnected with that. uh, it's now just that journey of like figuring out, what do I do with all of this?
What do I do with all this?
It's there, it's powerful, it's the harmony and balance is just waiting. I feel it.
Like, what do I do with all this me-ness?
That's right.
All this me-ness. It's like,
Yes.
oh,
What is this?
this is all me. And what if I'm really present with this me,
Yeah.
right? Without constantly seeking that outer
That's right.
validation, approval, crumbs,
Yeah.
distraction,
Numb.
seduction, numbing. I like seduction and numbing,
I
but
ditto.
we're trying to balance. So, we've been talking a lot about the push.
Yes.
The push. You started to talk about success
Yeah.
and how we define success.
Yeah.
And the push, 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 push.
Yeah.
And this elusive balance of the give and the take.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is that, like, with success, with things that are, the big question has been like, is it about like getting feedback from others that define that, or has it been actually me in there? Because I can kind of look back in many different ways. Like, if I felt like I was getting reinforcement externally, then I felt like I was on the right track. Like, even if I was doing what I wanted to do, or I felt like, called, or, excited and passionate about it, I still needed that external kind of, okay, check mark,
And can we talk about sometimes what the check marks are for?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes in our society, the check marks are about overexertion,
Yes.
overworking,
That's right.
not having boundaries
Yeah.
around work,
Yeah.
pushing beyond what feels healthy.
Totally. And that being not only expected, but that you're thriving in it.
Yes.
So if you're doing all of those things, you're actually one of the good ones.
Right.
Right. And it's a small group because it's not possible to maintain.
Right.
But that group is very elite.
They often become our role models
Yeah,
in
yeah,
certain career paths or jobs. And
yeah,
we were talking about how you can almost feel adrenal burnout at times in your body if
yeah,
you're paying attention or it's
absolutely.
clamoring for your attention. When you are in survival mode, you're still in fight or
Yeah,
flight. It just looks really pretty,
that's right.
right?
So sparkly.
So sparkly.
Yeah,
Look at me, look what I'm
yeah,
doing, look what I can manage,
yeah,
look what I'm capable
yeah,
of. Let's just keep loading more on the plate.
that's right. And again, the reinforcement is, there's a lot of external, like, like you're helping others kind of figure out their way, or you're like, you know, um, creating things that help people. Like, again, like, in our kind of field, right? Like, there's all these really altruistic pieces to it too, but there's also, the push that
Yes.
comes with, working hard at it,
Mm-hmm.
like, and pushing it to, and feeling kind of lazy if you're not.
And beating yourself up mercilessly.
Yeah.
I mean, can we make a distinction between, working hard at something, which
Yeah.
has some value,
Yes.
and the tip into the overdrive
Yeah.
and how easy it is to tip into
Yeah.
that and not realize it and still
Yeah.
call it success, achievement,
Yeah.
and progress. And it can be, I mean, it can be all of those things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yet, overdoing is fear in disguise. It
Yes.
is still often a trauma response.
Absolutely.
Just keep going like a
Yeah.
shark, never stop.
Yeah. Because the worry about stopping is like, that's the question. Like, what's the worry if I was to stop? You know, you kind of had mentioned it there too, just around, is it that something bad's going to happen, or is it, I'll have to be with me, you know?
I have to be with me.
Yeah.
If I stop, I'll have to be with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that maybe feels foreign, scary,
Foreign, right?
foreign.
Yeah.
Just
Right. The reconnecting to that.
what am I going to feel?
Yeah. How does this feel? How do my emotions without like external check boxes being ticked off?
What am I suppressing,
That's
distracting myself from?
right. And it all coming to the surface, right? Because there's space for it,
Right.
you know?
So, how much of our lives are sort of organized around actually unconsciously running from ourselves?
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. I had an osteopath say to me recently, he did a bunch of work. He's a beautiful practitioner. Um, again, all the pieces in play, health, work, relationship at the time, son, like it was just the flow of it, right? Boundaries, the ones that actually I realized were helpful, not harming. Um, he just looked at me and he's like, what are you running from?
Hmm.
Look, this is again one of those moments where all the fragments felt like a cupcake.
Yeah, what are you running from?
Well,
Because you could feel it in your body.
totally,
Yeah.
and he's just like, and I'm like, well, that's a very good question. um, and he's like, just stop pushing your healing.
Mm.
Like like you are doing, you're pushing like the actual healing process too far. You're working too hard at it,
At healing.
at healing.
Yeah. That's interesting, right?
Yeah. And he's like, like maybe take a break from meditation.
Isn't that interesting?
And I'm just like, what do you mean take a break from meditation? Right. Like I'm thinking like that's the foundation for me of like these last number of years of getting back to myself.
Mm.
Right. Like that has been the leading force for me is
It's
meditation.
interesting advice.
Isn't it though?
But so what did you do with it, or do you feel like there's wisdom in it now, or do you think
Well,
it seems a little wonky to me? I don't know. Like of all the
agreed.
things to go, like
Agreed.
let's take meditation out of the
Right.
picture.
Well, and that's what I had said to him. I'm like, what are you talking? He's like, well, it's almost like being too like, yeah, this may be a masculine thing. I don't
Oh,
know.
a masculine thing.
I think it might be.
It's because what are you getting?
Yeah, he said, he's like, you're just trying to solve everything. You're in that solving intellectual place. And so, like the meditation's not necessarily healing anymore. It's maintaining the old patterns,
Hmm.
thinking.
Does that resonate for you?
Yeah, not 100%, right? So what I said to, like, I didn't stop. But recently I had, because I was like, that's not possible. Like that was my,
Mhm.
immediate, like, it's just not possible. But I just recently kind of thought, you know what? Maybe let me try that. And that's where, oh my God, that's where this exhaustion's come from, actually. I haven't been meditating.
So you're saying you're correlating, I stopped meditating and
Yeah,
the fatigue has set in.
that's right.
What meaning do you make of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I needed to.
You needed to stop
Yeah, I needed to stop
to
because
feel this.
that's right.
So he was right about
He
this.
was actually right
Damn
about
him.
it. I know he was, Elias.
Yeah.
He was because I was using it as a band-aid, I think, a little
Mhm.
bit.
Like, in other words, I'm going to go like into mindlessness,
Yeah,
and on some level, that was still some kind of buffer from feeling what was going on for you.
totally.
That's really interesting.
Totally.
It's like meditating, like, that thing, like, in a way, meditations, we think of it as like, I think of it as like going inward
That's right.
and sitting with what is. But I think there's also another way where, and I'm not saying you were doing this.
No, this is
But
exactly it.
meditation can, be this like sort of like, I'm gonna put blindfolds on, like just
Go into the void.
go into the void.
That's exactly
I
what was
think
happening.
nothing, I feel nothing.
That's right.
Interesting.
Almost dissociative, I guess,
Almost
a bit.
dissociative.
Like it was sitting in the void.
Yeah.
Really good at it too.
So interesting.
So
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That just all kind of came together for me because it's really interesting because again, like the masculine being part of my healing journey, like getting really good at things in the healing context, right? Like being a great meditator.
Can we say, I often say this for listeners, that when we talk about the masculine, we're not denigrating the masculine. We
Yes.
hold the
Yes.
masculine as sacred, as the feminine energy is sacred as well.
Mhm.
But we're talking about when we go out of balance,
Yeah.
right? And we tip too much into the masculine
That's
of
right.
the push,
Yes.
the push, and
Yeah.
that going beyond our limits
Yes.
to achieve no matter what it takes.
That's right. At whatever cost.
At whatever cost.
Yeah.
And that's success.
That's success.
Yes.
And that's scarcity, right? Like that. And I think you were talking a bit about the fear part of it. Like it's because if I do stop, if I don't push, uh, what will I lose? And then it's like, but you know,
Or who will I lose?
well, that's it.
Right?
Yeah.
Who will I lose?
Yeah.
What will I lose?
Yes.
And you were saying earlier, and this is so true, that sometimes when we do stop or we make shifts, we put those boundaries in place, we do lose people or we lose their approval.
Absolutely.
We,
Yeah.
they're definitely not happy about the changes.
That's right.
Because they may stand to lose
a lot
from
their perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
of what they've been gaining.
That's right.
From the overwork and overgiving.
That's right.
That we're doing.
That's right. Like plugging in holes.
Yeah.
For others that
Yes.
Has allowed them to function well.
Right. Or not well, as the case
Well,
may be.
exactly at the core of it, but
Yeah.
from the again that external way, and just and that is exactly it, right? I mean, when you start to come back to yourself, it's then realizing and seeing all the patterns that kind of are permeating through all the different types of relationships, all the different types of decisions made. And it's like, again, like a reckoning of, okay, I see how I've landed here, all the fragments and all the pieces. I'm not wanting to do this anymore because I can't and don't want to, choice. So what's next?
Right.
What's next?
And can I say in there, what is most useful to observe is our patterns
Yeah,
within these relationships, because we
right.
really tend to fixate on other
Yeah, no,
or a
this is
dynamic,
right.
right? But it's like, what are my patterns?
That's
How
right.
am I showing up
Yeah,
consistently
yeah,
in ways where I sell myself short,
yeah,
I give myself away,
yeah,
I overwork?
yeah. And that's it, right? It's like it's the people, although super important for different reasons. Like it's more about seeing what how I've been showing up, right? Like you're saying, it's how and why, right? Origin story of that, and this is it. And the awareness of it, then there's choice, right?
And maybe we don't want to give that thing or that person up,
That's right.
even though we know it's not great for us.
Yes.
And so we have to sort of mitigate our own growth and healing in order to stay.
Yeah.
Or we try to manipulate the variables so the other will change and
Yeah.
maybe cross the bridge a little bit
Yeah.
closer towards us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, that's where like, people can change, but it's about then, even looking back in relationships, like how you choose the certain people that you do, right?
Yes. It's all perfectly designed.
Right? To fill in the narrative.
Fill in the narrative, replicate those patterns
That's right.
if they're not healed.
That's right.
Just another person to play that scene out with.
Yeah, that's right. Until you don't.
Until you don't.
Yeah.
Right. And until you don't, as you keep saying this wonderful word, reckoning,
Yeah.
sometimes the until you don't is the reckoning.
That's right.
It's like you feel like you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
Your body gives out beneath you.
Yeah.
Things are falling apart faster than you can put them together.
Yes.
All signs are pointing to something's got to give.
That's right.
And it can't be you anymore.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. And coming there more than once in a lifetime, it's like the body's like, when are you going to do this? Like when? Like it feels like the patterns just kind of come to you again until you see and learn the lesson, whatever that is, right?
Right. Right. If you're enjoying Over It, make sure you follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or Apple Music. Welcome back to Over It. And I wanted to talk a little bit of what we were talking about and really feeling into the changes in our bodies as we age.
Yeah.
And what has stood out for you about your journey so far?
So for me, body wise, I would say in the last like 20 years, like it's been a 20-year thing. It's gone through, from health to pain to healing to numbing to pain, to healing. And I would say the biggest kind of shift that did happen was having a hysterectomy. Right? So it's like before that, it was my body just screaming, around releasing, connecting, coming back to, and once, and that whole hysterectomy was like a whole process of even getting it or why, and, the process of that expected suffering we were talking about too. But once that, surgery had happened, then I'm in menopause. Right?
Yeah, instantaneous menopause.
Instant, right? Like, and it's just menopause. It felt like a relief.
A relief, well, especially based on what was happening
Well,
before your
hysterectomy.
hysterectomy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was like 9 months of a lot of pain and flow and like everything. It was like right to the edge of it. And so after it was not only, okay, so menopause, I was kind of excited about not having my cycle ever again.
Because you
Right.
had it for 9 months straight,
I
basically. You
did.
were literally bleeding to death and no one was really listening.
I know, right? And the grief of that too,
Yeah.
the grief of that reality doesn't pass me lightly, you know, because it really was me also really far away from self too, right? Like there was lots going on during that period of time where it was, again, almost getting in that comfort of pain, like just sitting in it. Like it felt that was the norm. Like I could manage to the point where even though I was bleeding, I didn't ask for help.
And then when you did,
Yeah.
right, there
Yeah.
was even from female doctors, the
Yeah.
response was sort of like, well, we'll just
Yeah.
watch it.
Bleed.
We'll just watch you bleed
That's
out.
right. For 9 months straight and try all these other things and try to fix it. But there was a real pushback to getting a hysterectomy. It was like, you need to like figure out everything you can to keep, your uterus and your ovaries. Ovaries was like a whole process, right? Because it was the doctor that was doing the surgery was just really worried about taking out both and what that would mean, and actually stopped a surgery as a result to kind of come back to it. So having two surgeries.
Because you weren't listened to.
That's right.
You literally weren't listened to.
Yes, because I had given them consent to do everything that could have been done in one surgery, but they still, these are female
Yeah.
doctors, didn't want to follow through on that because it was a capacity thing, but a fear and worry thing. I'm just like, when I woke up after the first surgery, I'm like, why didn't you just take everything out? I said you could, and they're like just worried about the implications of it for me. Oh
It's
man,
so interesting, like how much of that is the masculinization of medicine.
yes,
Like literally, you're not going to take these organs out, even though that's what you've tried everything to
begging.
get this bleeding to
Yeah,
stop.
absolutely.
But we are not going to take these organs out.
That's right.
Because what? Then what?
Because, well, this is it. And the worry for them just was um, taking them out and not being able to do it in such a way that it didn't hurt other organs. That was kind of her main thing. But also what it would mean for my menopause, that I wouldn't be then, able to produce the hormones that was needed to kind of function without HRT.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
But the context
I know.
of the suffering, the
Yeah.
longevity of the suffering,
Yeah.
and the reinforcement of
Yes.
this conditioning that to be woman is to suffer.
That's right.
You suck it up and just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jam something on up there and go to work.
Literally.
Literally. Like wear an adult diaper and
Yes.
a torpedo-sized tampon and get on with
Yeah,
it.
just do it.
Just do
do
what you
it.
need to do for God's sake. Stop
Right.
complaining.
And no complaints about it. Because if there is, then there's like something wrong, like a weakness of some sort.
And then what is it to be woman without these organs?
Well, that's it.
What are people's projections and fears about that?
Yeah, because that was a big conversation at some point along the way. There was like this, that you're going to grieve these, like you're going to grieve these organs potentially, and it could put you kind of from a mental health perspective into a bit of a depression, right? Like she was worried about that. But I had been at peace with the idea and done the grieving already because I could no longer have children. Right. Like I knew that. And, like that was a big actual piece, like only having one child.
Right.
Like I definitely, once I had my son, wanted more children.
How old were you at the time of your hysterectomy, roughly?
I was 45.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was the early 40s
Yeah.
that it had started, that
Yeah.
it was, so it'd been going on for years.
Yeah.
Really. but it was, like in my early 40s, I was like wanting to potentially have another child,
Yeah.
right? And then, so then when it really is done, like fully, hysterectomy, like then, it's like, okay, so and it was a process, but it was already dealt with before like the surgeries. Um, it was almost like the same thing around stopping breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Like that was like like it was almost like postpartum, but it was after breastfeeding,
Hmm.
like
With the hormones dropping,
that's right.
causing a depression.
That's right.
Yeah.
The first time ever I'd ever
Yeah.
experienced that,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it was so interesting too, because when I had stopped breastfeeding, um, Milo was like 18 months, and we had tried a number of different times because I'd already gone back to work, and but he got sick. He had a cold, so I'm like, okay, so we'll just get through this bit, and then we'll get back to kind of weaning. And then one morning, he just like jumped off, and he was gone, and he never wanted it again, right?
Hmm.
And it was so sudden that I was just like, my body just went into like shock.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was really sad. And then that was actually the beginning of all of that
All of
depression.
the
Yeah.
weaning.
The weaning.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the beginning. The first time I had experienced depression.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, and so, in that, talking about the hysterectomy, I kind of just, aligned it with the same kind of experience, right? Like maybe, and she was worried about that. Like, if this is another part of you that's going to stop physically,
Yeah.
like being prepared for what that could mean.
Sometimes though, we just can't save these organs.
Yes, there was a celebration
Yeah.
afterwards. It was, and this is okay, this is the gift of it, actually. So in the healing of it, which, there was two hysterectomies, right? So I mean, like partial the
Yeah.
first go, and then the full thing
Yeah.
afterwards. And then they had to do a whole bunch of other little things. Well, not little, but they did
Yeah.
other things. And in the healing of it, that's when I got back into my body. Like it was like it was for 2 weeks straight, pretty much, that I just laid there, silence, and just healed.
Yeah.
And me kind of doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like it was me a part of that, and realizing that I could, because I bounced back quick.
Yeah.
Like I felt like $1 billion, like almost instantly.
Yeah.
For sure the relief of all of the pain that had been attached to my uterus, but also it felt like a second go at it,
Yeah.
a rebirth.
Right. Right.
It was a rebirth. Yeah.
Sometimes it can be like letting down a heavy suitcase.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember just trying for so long to try to save my ovary that was so causing me so much pain.
Yeah.
She was the voice of all my repressed anger,
Right.
and
Right.
sadness, and she kept erupting with cysts rupturing, like a volcano.
Right.
Like, and I just would go through these horrible, cysts that would rupture, and the pain was worse than childbirth, and I never knew it was going to happen, and we'd get through it, and then my ovary would form a new cyst, and I'd feel like a ticking time bomb. And I would do all the things, the diet, and I do the energy work, and I do the meditation, I do the visualization of my ovary being happy, and my ovary was not happy. And
Yeah.
I felt a real dilemma. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to have an organ out, and I felt like I was letting myself down if I couldn't fix it or I couldn't save it. But then really realizing that, like, coming to a place where it was just so clear to me I couldn't live like that anymore.
Yeah.
With these like emergencies out of nowhere, and like, where was it getting me? And just kind of had a dialogue with my ovary, and she was ready to go.
Yeah. Screaming.
Yeah, she was ready to go.
Yeah.
And I felt after that surgery like I'd absolutely made the right decision.
Clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
It was a relief. And
Yes.
like energetically, I felt like I hadn't let my ovary down.
That's
She
right.
hadn't let me down.
Yeah.
It was just time to part ways.
That's right.
But it also felt almost like a new page.
Totally. Absolutely.
A new page.
A new page. A new like just anything is possible too. Like that real like beginning, it felt
Anything is possible because, how would you answer that?
anything is possible because I can heal.
Because I can heal.
Yeah.
And I don't have to keep dragging this
That's
around.
right. That's right.
Like my lot in life is
Yeah.
to suffer.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
And I can actually just go about my day and not be bleeding to
That's
death.
right.
And that's okay.
And it doesn't have to be so hard.
And it doesn't have to be so hard.
Everything doesn't have to be hard.
That
Or to have meaning.
yes, to have meaning. It reminds me of something you were saying today about just giving yourself permission
Yeah.
as a woman and how powerful that is.
Yeah. And permission in this context to relax.
Yeah, to relax.
Right.
To relax.
Gosh. And to stop.
And you said today, I cannot remember the last time I felt this kind of relaxation.
Yeah. At all. I like really truly can't. It has been that long.
Wow.
Which is a problem, right?
Right.
I say a problem, it's more of it's a I feel kind of sad about it actually.
Right. I was gonna say there's gonna
I
be
feel
some grief there.
Yeah, I feel sad about that because I think with the hysterectomy being an opportunity to do it all different.
And
to begin.
you have done some things differently.
Oh, loads of things.
Yeah.
Loads of things. And, just it's like the foundational for like the future, right? Setting it, like doing all that.
These survival strategies die
Mhm.
hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It takes time. And I think, this past little while has just been seeing all the strategies. Like I'm there, right? Like it's more slowing everything down enough to see it all, have awareness around it, which is where psychedelics has come in.
Oh my God, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
people don't know this,
Yeah.
but we met through
Right.
the therapeutic psychedelic world.
Yeah.
We're talking about legal use
Yeah.
of psychedelics in mental health treatment
That's right.
and the power and importance of their place in that
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
That's how we met
That's how we met.
as practitioners.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Who believe in the power of psychedelics.
Absolutely. And who believe in it in a way where it's individual.
Right.
And I think this is the piece, like there's such a big, kind of swell around psychedelics right now and all the different potential and capacity and beauty and sacredness and all of that. It has to be right for the person.
Right.
For the individual. And I think for me, it's really interesting because, as I've said this too, like I kind of laugh a little bit, like it's kind of like, what am I doing here in this space? But in the journey of it, it has showed me all the patterns I needed to see, created opportunity to see the patterns,
Gives you some distance between yourself,
Yeah.
your patterns, yourself, your coping mechanisms, right? It actually creates space so that you can observe it.
That's right.
With hopefully less judgment.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like the gift. But then there's also the piece of it that it's shadow too. It's all of it, right? It's not,
When
just-
you say shadow, just for
Yeah.
our listeners, like how do you think about shadow?
Yeah, shadow being, those parts of ego that really we either have a hard time or can't see um, the knowing, right? The knowing of that other side. And that's also that kind of, seeing your role in it all.
Seeing your role. Yeah. Seeing your role in it all.
That's it.
Again, hopefully with some less judgment
Yeah.
and ultimately self-compassion.
That's it, ultimately.
And then
right?
and then the grief, right? Because the
Yes.
grief is sort of like, I feel adjacent to when you really get to a place where you can see, look what I've done to myself
Yes.
over and over again in
That's
all of
right.
these really creative ways.
Yeah. Very creative.
Look at what I've done to
Yeah.
myself, and actually allowing yourself to feel sad about
That's
that.
right.
And ultimately, hopefully, some self-compassion about
Yeah.
that.
And I think that piece about self-compassion is process of it,
The
right?
process of it, yeah.
Right? Like
Mhm.
getting to that place. Because I would say, like, honestly, the compassion thing is really hard to get there. Like I say that, and because again, I'm in this like reckoning place, right? Like it's right in the crux of it, just on the other side of the distance from the patterns and the knowing and the awareness. Um,
So when we try to give ourselves self-compassion, just noticing those other voices that come in,
yeah,
those ghosts of the past
that's right.
that we've incorporated as our own voice,
That's right.
that tell us it's selfish and greedy and
Oh,
harmful
that's
for
right.
us to care about ourselves.
That's right.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It feels really deeply wrong.
Very deeply wrong and very selfish. There's like guilt attached to it.
Yes.
And all voices and experiences of the past, right? Whether society, whether family of origin, culture, religion, um, social, like it's comes from all different places, right? And then to actually have some distance from it to see is the opportunity, let's say psychedelics can give and offer, but then it's like, then you're with yourself. And
Yeah.
that's the work.
Yeah. And then you're with yourself.
You're with yourself.
And this could feel initially like a barren landscape. It can be extremely scary,
Terrifying.
terrifying,
Terrifying.
terrifying to go inward.
That's right. To the point, I mean, somatically for me, my vagus nerve is just like screaming, like, what is this new? Who are you? What are we doing here?
For some people, we are speaking total psychobabble, but when we talk
Right.
about somatically and
Yeah.
vagus and our nerves, and yeah, we're just talking about the expression of terror,
Yes.
grief in
Yeah.
our bodies,
That's
in our
good.
nervous systems.
Yes.
And the alarm that constantly goes off that says danger, 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 even
Yeah.
if maybe in that moment there isn't danger.
That's right. It's just a familiar pattern.
Yes.
Right. And it's so protective. So that's where like the compassion, actually, like the love towards, whatever the experience is in the body as a result of fear. Right?
Mhm.
It's like, it's protective
Mhm.
because it was survival at one point, but now when it's no longer necessary,
It keeps us from thriving.
that's right. That it actually, it's almost like a transition, right? Like it's gotta trust the new way,
Mm.
you know.
I think about this concept of like sort of who owns my life in a way.
Mhm.
Maybe own isn't the right word, but and I remember coming into this really different space, you really when I turned 50 of like, wait a minute. Do I own my life? And
Mm.
what would it look like
Yeah.
to fully inhabit that as like, this is my life.
Right.
It's not like some adjacent thing to motherhood or partnership or work. It's like, what if I'm the main thing that's important?
Yeah.
What is it like to embody that
Yeah.
with all of those self-judgments and conditioned negative
Right.
thoughts about that, but like, where am I in my life?
Yes.
Where am I
Yes.
in my life?
Yeah. Go for that.
Yeah. I
Tell
go
me
for
about it. Yeah. Like,
I am solidly in my life.
yeah.
Like I am in the best possible way at the start of the show.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my life
Yes.
is, I hate this word because it's been taken over by social media, but like I really am creating and curating my life as an expression of how I need and want things to be to the
Yeah.
best of my ability.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
and a lot of that has to do
Yeah.
with my increased ability to receive.
Mhm. Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the receiving piece though, because I think really truly for women out there, that just seems like a foreign concept, right?
Yes. I mean, I think you have to start
Right.
wherever you are.
Yeah.
Like, what would it mean to receive in this hour? And what do you mean receive? Like, am I
Mhm.
waiting for someone to give me something? Maybe.
Right.
Or maybe somebody does want to give me something,
Right.
but I bat it away.
Yes.
Or maybe it's about how can I give to myself in this hour or this day in some small way
Yeah.
that might actually like speak to something deeper inside me,
Yeah.
like my spirit.
Mhm.
And it's okay, whatever that is.
Mhm.
You know, maybe it really is some retail therapy,
Right.
as long as it's not like that's all we do.
That's right.
But maybe it's that little voice inside us that we just keep ignoring that says, I know it sounds stupid, but I just want to lay in this hammock that I never lay in,
That's right.
that the kids play on or my
Yeah.
partner lays in, but I've never laid in, or,
Yeah.
you know, and I keep hearing this voice saying, just lay in the hammock, and I never
Mhm.
do.
Right.
So maybe it's just laying in the hammock for
Right.
5 minutes, you know,
Yeah.
maybe it's just soaking your footsies in the bath.
Right.
But in just noticing what is it like to
Mhm.
actually give to self and receive, and try to just turn the volume a little bit down on the self-judgment
That's right.
to really let yourself have it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm just going to practice letting myself have this
Mhm.
for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Like I'm giving it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like I'm giving it to somebody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Process like in the sense of like in the transition of that being the way, your body, like how did it hold? Or how did you actually soothe that? Or, figure out a way of being where the old wasn't still stuck in in the nervous system and the body.
Right? It's such the journey is
It
like,
really,
so it can feel arduous
yeah.
when you're battling those inner conflicts around, oh, I'm cooking for myself.
Mm,
That's weird.
yeah.
I don't even know how much to make. And normally I wouldn't go to this kind of trouble
Right.
for me,
Yeah.
but I'm going to do this. This does feel, oh, wait, it
Mhm.
kind of, wait a minute, feels a little good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just playing with that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's you draw yourself a bath, you get in it, and you end up crying, you know, or you notice,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's so much tension in my shoulders. How am
Yes.
I alive
Yeah.
like this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe it's just not a walk in the park,
Yeah.
right? When you really start to try to give to yourself,
Mhm.
or you allow yourself to receive help or support from anher. And
That's
then
right.
a part of you goes, oh God, I feel so bad. I'm such a burden.
Yeah.
How am I going to make it up to her?
Yeah.
Poor her.
Right.
She's listened to me for 15 minutes.
Right.
I've just talked about me.
Right. Right.
She's got so much going on.
Yeah.
I've just dumped all this on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sometimes it's messy, this
Yes.
journey,
It really.
but it's also getting so sick and tired, literally, of being out of balance
Yeah.
with yourself. I mean, I might call that masculine and feminine energy. That might not resonate for other people,
Yeah.
but being so out of whack
Yeah.
that the way you're going, you
Mhm.
know, you're not going to survive much longer.
That's right. Yeah. Your body's letting you know, if not anything
Your
else.
psyche, you're
Yeah.
having spirit tantrums,
Yes.
like whatever that is,
Yeah.
you just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And you've got to make some changes.
Yeah.
And don't expect it to feel natural.
Yeah.
or right
Yeah.
necessarily right away.
Mhm. You're saying it right now. This is it, right?
But yeah,
And the process of it, that it is, little increments by little increments, and then there's that idea of push, like, okay, so to be healed, let's say healed, what that looks like, there's a striving in that too, and I think that's what my osteopath kind of was saying as in the last segment, like, slow it down, right? Like, slow it down and pay attention, and let your body kind of do some stuff here, not your mind, right? Like the intellectual, can like sort everything out and map everything and strategy and all of that. But like when you come back into here, into body,
yeah.
like that's where it happens.
That's reminding me of something that my Claire Bear, who you happened to meet yesterday, which was
Yeah.
awesome, who's
Yeah.
been on the podcast, Claire Pearson, she said to me once, like, one of your survival strategies is figuring everything out,
That's right.
and you're really good at it.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to do that. And that was like, or I don't, she didn't say, I don't want you to do that. She said, I want you to notice
Yeah.
that that's the place you go to
Yes.
when you're feeling really unsteady.
Yeah.
And it also drives and further drives the overworking.
Totally.
If I can just figure it out,
That's
if
right.
I just figure it out,
Solution.
and solution. And so now I notice
Mhm.
if I go there, like before, my justification, I believed that is how I'm keeping it all together. I'm
Totally.
figuring it all out,
Totally.
obviously.
Yeah. Right.
But
The web is working.
yeah, it's
right?
working.
Yeah.
But now I'm recognizing when I go into that like, I gotta fix it, I gotta figure it out, I gotta figure it out, I gotta figure it out, that I cut off completely from my body.
Totally.
I literally leave my body.
Yeah. It's like floating underneath the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's floating underneath the brain
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
consumed.
Yeah.
And it really is a cutoff also from a higher knowing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Intuition is very, very hard to connect with.
Right.
When you're up there.
Yes.
But it is that, societally especially, but that is the place where it all happens, right? Like it's like, you're whether it's like working and like figuring it out, and like if you're a good strategist, you're going to get an amazing job. You're going to be like seen as someone that people go to. You're going to receive all the feedback, externally, that you're really good at this and you can do lots with this, until your body's just like, hello, I'm down here. Like, please, right?
Yeah, including the brain.
Oh, yeah.
The brain hits the skids and we're depressed.
Yeah, totally.
Having panic attacks or whatever the case may be.
Because we're stuck up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like a numbing of the brain. Because it's overworked.
Right.
It's like finished.
Right. Busted a fuse.
Busted a fuse.
Yes.
Said earlier. Busted a fuse, right? So it's like that. And that's where the hysterectomy was a gift for me, was bringing me back into my body.
Right.
Because I had to.
Right.
And the beautiful part of all of that was I
can make that choice.
I can, and it's better for me.
That's a way you actually gave to yourself.
That's right. In that, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, and I would say that's the beginning of that,
What do you mind me asking, for women who might be contemplating it or whatever, like, what is your unique experience of hormone replacement therapy been like?
Yeah. So right after I started to experience hot flashes.
Right after the hysterectomy.
Right after the hysterectomy, hot flashes, and I'm like, these aren't fun. They're tough. They're hard. And given that I had no ovaries at all, like it was an inevitable. We were going to get HRT, the hormone replacement therapy, started. So once I did, felt amazing. Like I felt clear. I felt energetic. I felt again, the relief of the surgery, but this was then, no hot flashes, no, no uncomfortable. My mood was really stable. So I'm like, this is fine. Like, this is
Mhm.
absolutely perfect. Um, and then eventually, this last fall, started to get aura migraines.
Oh yeah, aura migraines. We were talking about this.
Yeah. So then it was time to, like, there was an incident that led to it, but there was also the estrogen kind of piece to it too, because the estrogen, from my doctor's perspective, can bring on, aura
Yeah,
migraines.
which I had too.
Yeah. Right. We were talking about
Yeah.
that. So then it was finding a dose that worked,
Yeah.
right? So like cutting it in half, cutting it in quarters, like playing with it to see where I would get the benefit of all the, positives that it was bringing, without the aura migraines.
Right.
And it's worked.
That's
So it
great.
was just like really, truly with my doctor, just naturopath, actually, I should say, to be honest, with my naturopath, um, figuring out the right dose.
And right, just their acknowledgement that our bodies are always changing,
That's
right?
right.
And God willing, you'll be nice and steady for a good
Yeah,
long time, but that our bodies are always in
that's right.
flux,
Yeah,
right? Always.
yeah,
Right. Well, I think we'll take another little break.
yeah.
Let people
Okay,
get a snacky, and then we'll be
okay.
right back.
Beautiful.
And welcome back to Over It. So, Melanie, I want to ask you a question. I ask everybody, and I ask it in different ways, but as you think back uh, on your life
Hmm.
and you think about your 12-year-old self,
Hmm.
what would you want her to know?
Oh, wow. Such a good question. And I can picture her too. Um, just that she's not broken. She's not broken because she did feel that way. Um, that her emotions are beautiful and not scary to feel, right? That she's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. Like, I can picture her, right? Like, she was just starting to realize who she was and excited about it, but just terrified too because of lots of different things. So just that, and then that feeling of brokenness, like just constantly being at the front because that was the message that she was getting. Um, she just needed to hear from older, wiser me. She's not broken. She's strong. She's beautiful. She's creative. She's silly. Um, she's gonna be okay.
And she's going to be okay.
She's
What would you tell yourself now
yeah,
about you?
yeah. Anything's possible.
Hmm.
Anything's possible. Um, just trust yourself. Love yourself. Be compassionate and kind, for all, whether it's the shadow, whether it's the story, whether it's the trail behind. Just some compassion and kindness.
That's beautiful. Just like you.
Thank you. This has been lovely.
So fun. And
Yes.
can we just say that our first night when we stayed up,
Yeah.
I said, I think we've been talking for 12 hours straight.
Yes, totally.
So the second night, I said, well, the second day, I said, we have to beat our record.
Yeah.
So we have to talk for 13 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Which we did.
We did.
And then what happened last night?
Last night we gave ourselves permission to actually go to bed at a reasonable
Oh,
hour.
that's true.
Right. We did
We
it.
did.
We were gonna go down and like, be with the bluegrass. It was bluegrass.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the end.
At the inn. But then just permission to like actually just rest.
Yeah. Go to bed early.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go swim in a waterfall
We really
in my little
are.
town.
We really are. And I can't wait. My body is like over the moon excited. about that.
Yay. We're going to float in a waterfall, maybe have a salad
Yes.
for lunch.
Yes.
And whatever else.
That's right. The rest is like, let's see.
Maybe a pizza and a beer for
Yeah.
dinner. The brewery down the
There we
street.
go.
Just
Perfect.
saying.
That sounds perfect.
Well, I just can't tell you how grateful I am
Oh man.
for
this is
our
amazing.
lifetimes of friendship.
Yes.
All stuffed into the last whatever it's been,
Yeah.
10 months, 9 months. And I'm so grateful you were on Over It, and thank you for sharing your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for like creating space like this too. It's such a gift. And just like being here and chatting with you and it just offers so much clarity too.
Oh, good.
You really like, so thank you. Gratitude, grateful. It's been so beautiful.
Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
I hope that our listeners are also getting over it.
Yes.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Control yourself. Don't drink too much. Don't talk too much. Don't look that way. Don't stare at that boy. Don't giggle. Don't wiggle. That's too short. No one can shackle me. No, no, no. Wait, there's orders. No, no, no. No, I won't give up. No, no, no. No, we won't give up. No, no, no. I don't want to hear this words. How can a man speak this way? How can a girl always seem who rolled up this rule? No, no, no. He kissed the dust, he's on last. Can't understand, he won't give up. He looked that way, he stared at me.